Ian, great to see you.
Good to see you too. Hi.
Hi.
I don't know if I'm supposed to talk into this.
No, right into the mic would be great. If it's into the mic, they can hear you. If it's not into the mic, nobody can.
Essentially, we built the Sturgeon Refinery, so we're engineers, we like to build and stuff, and we decided we could build a carbon negative hydrogen plant. And so what we do is we're planning on using wood as the feedstock, and essentially we capture the carbon that the tree takes out of the air and we sequester that carbon. So the hydrogen that comes out of it is hugely carbon negative, and that has all kinds of benefits when you're trying to decarbonize things that are difficult to decarbonize, like diesel fuel in refineries.
Yeah. Wow. And just remember, as you turn your head, keep the mic moving with you.
Okay.
Perfect.
I'll be better next time.
Yeah. We're back again next year, so you got lots of time to practice. So when we talk about carbon negative and using bio feedstock, what's kind of the size or the scale of the project that you're talking about?
So we think each hub will cost we're planning on building 4 of them around North America. Each one would cost about $6 billion to build. And
hold on, say it again.
About
$6 billion?
$6 billion.
So they're large.
Yeah. And each one sequesters about 4 million tons of CO2 a year.
Wow.
So decent scale. And we'll build them all in Edmonton. So we learned, when we built the refinery, we built stuff in all different places. The best place in the world to build stuff is Edmonton, so we're going to figure out how to do it here. And we got lots of friends in the building trades and the boilermakers and all that stuff, so we're building here.
Okay, perfect. So again, we've got people watching from around the world, across Canada. They may not know about the refinery that you've already built. Can you give us just a sense that you're legit?
Yeah, so when I started building this Sturgeon Refinery, I do the flow sheet on a napkin in my office, and then I decided I wanted to build it. And so, 20 years later, there's a refinery out there. It's the first carbon capturing refinery in the world. And when I started on it in probably 2004, people were saying, "Oh, you shouldn't be carbon capturing. That's too expensive. It's a flash in the pan." And we built a carbon capturing refinery. We thought up the Alberta carbon trunk line, which takes CO2 from the refinery to central Alberta where you can use it. And we built that whole system, and it's fully operational and fully functional now. And it is making money now. So that was, it was a big topic for a while. It wasn't making any money. It's making money now. The people that own it, the Alberta government, are happy.
Yeah. So the H2 Naturally projects you're looking at are $8 billion each. How big was the refinery and the trunk line and all those pieces that you've already done?
So the refinery and the trunk line cost about $12 billion total. And so, we can do okay scale projects like we know how to do them. Yeah.
One of the themes of this whole conference in terms of really explaining what's happening here in this region has been just a discussion about scale. I think people don't understand the scale of what's happening here, what's already been happening. Because we've been doing carbon capture for 20 plus years, hydrogen for at least that long. So again, your projects you've already done have been the $12 billion range. You're looking more in the $8 billion range.
The refinery we built had the largest blue hydrogen plant in the world in it.
Yeah.
So I'll use the wrong units because I'm old, but it made about 150,000 standard cubic feet a day of hydrogen, which is a big hydrogen plant.
Yeah.
And then it also sequesters more than 1 million tons of CO2 that's associated with the hydrogen manufacturer. So, a lot of people, they sort of do one part of it, but we don't think you can do projects at this scale unless you do all the parts. So you have to know what you're going to do with carbon. You have to know how to make hydrogen. You have to know operate. You have to know how to finance it. So we feel like we know how to do that kind of stuff.
Yeah. Wow. Yeah. Okay, so just to get into the H2 Naturally piece a bit, what kind of biofuels are you looking at, or not biofuel, but bio inputs? Yeah,
so essentially we go to a forest, and when you cut down a forest for lumber, about 50% of the material is near scrap value. And so Canada has been good at making that material into pulp. And so they make part of it into pulp, and then they leave the rest of the stuff behind in the forest. It's called slash. Sometimes they burn it, sometimes they just leave it to rot. So we're going to capture that material, and ultimately I think we're a replacement for the pulp market. So we're going to take the low-value parts of the fiber that come with every Canadian forest, and we're going to convert that into hydrogen and pure CO2. And really what we're trying to do is take advantage of the trees' air capturing work. So lots of people are talking about how you can capture CO2 from the air. A tree's been around for 250 million years. It
Trees
knows
know how to do it.
Yeah. So what we do is take advantage of the tree's carbon capturing work, and then we make hydrogen. So we take the energy in the tree, and that turns into hydrogen eventually, and we sequester the CO2. So we take advantage of the tree's work and put that CO2 underground.
Okay. And is there, again, like an $8 billion project it's a big project. Is there enough of that leftover or waste from the forestry industry to actually keep this sustainable?
Yeah, in Canada, there's about 100 million tons of that material every year. So there's lots of material. It's just, can you afford to get it to the hydrogen plant, and can you make it into what you need? So our first project, the fiber will come from Fort Nelson First Nation. They have about a 2.5 million cubic year annual cut, and about half of that fiber will end up coming to somebody like us.
Wow,
Yeah.
okay. And when you look at other projects around the world, I think you said 4 projects in North America you're looking at. Do they have similar access to that feedstock?
Yeah, so I mean, we think there's lots of fiber in Canada, and there's lots in the U.S. to do this. In Canada, it's really interesting. So I'm getting pretty old. I've been trying to figure out how to do something with Indigenous people for my whole life, and this is the first thing that I've seen where I can go out and I work with Brian Farrer, who's a sawmill guy, knows everything about lumber. We're partners in this thing. And he's got great Indigenous relations. We're trying to create jobs in the hinterland where they're needed. We don't know what reconciliation means, but we know if we create good jobs out there and get the fiber to this thing, that's going to be good for the place. We're thinking we're going to create about 2,000 jobs in each forest. So each train of our plant needs about 2,000 people in the forest harvesting lumber to make it work.
Oh wow! Okay, I hadn't even thought of that as part of the value proposition of this. Is it's great jobs, in the north and out in the forests.
And what I think is we're creating something in Edmonton that's going to be like the size of a car industry. So we're going to build these plants one after the other, and the first hub will have about 4 identical production trains. If we build 4 of them in North America, we'll have 16 of them. Yeah. Each one of those things costs between $1 and $2 billion. So it's a lot of work, and it's the kind of work that we can do in Alberta, and we'll export that. That'll be a new industry for us that, I mean, I'm excited to be able to be part of that.
Yeah, well, I know we've got some projects on the go that we're looking at, steel, using hydrogen to produce it. Yeah. So in theory, by the time you're ready to roll, we might have, even the inputs to make the facility being a net zero. So if you're doing carbon negative as your output of the hydrogen, that whole process could be really, really world leading.
Yeah, I mean, I think the first places to use hydrogen are where we use it today. So put it in a refinery and displace natural gas. I think that's the easiest, most obvious place to go. I think the next place to go is fertilizer. We can put hydrogen in fertilizer plants. We got a lot of them around here. We can put it in them. And then the other uses are more and more speculative as you get away from it. But we've got the base load here to get this started, and no one else has that. We've got carbon sequestration here. We got hydrogen customers here. We're close enough to the fiber to get it to work, and we know how to build the things. Let's get going.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, again, that's kind of been the other theme of this whole convention is last year there's lots of talk about these are the things that we need to do. This year it's these are the things we're doing. And so on that, how far away are you from actually saying, okay, we're at investment decision, we're going to start to build this? What are the steps between now and then?
I hear all that stuff, and they talk about investment decision, all that stuff. I'm 73. I'm not working on anything.
Let's get it done.
We passed investment decision a long time ago. When we decided to work on it, we know enough about this to know that it works. We made the investment decision. We got to get going and building it. So we're buying a piece of land now. We're trying to figure out where we're going to, we're doing the engineering. We're doing all the things. And I guess we'll call it investment decision, but we made that. I made that when I started working on this.
Yeah, okay. And again, I think the scale of what you're doing, the vision that you've got to make this happen, and it's going to happen. And again, I just want to emphasize that the plan is to build the first one here, to use that basically as the template, have all the manufacturing capability here to then build it in, is it modular, that you then set up in other places and have, again, these massive scale operations?
Yeah, we're going to build everything here, and we're going to move it. It's cheap to ship. We can ship it anywhere. And people are talking to us in the U.S. already about building something down on the Gulf Coast. And, we've started that stuff, but we're focusing here. And I work with the other thing, you're interviewing me, but there's a great group of people who know what the hell they're doing that are behind me. And we're working on this thing like we believe it's going to happen. We'll make it happen.
Yeah, sounds fantastic. So Ian, thanks so much for joining us.
Yeah, thanks a lot.
I mean, you're a massive leader in this space. You have been for decades. The message I would give to people around the world, we're going, oh, how do you do this? Where should we do it? Just watch what you're doing is what they should be up to.
Oh yeah, I got one more left in me for sure.
Yeah, okay, awesome. Thanks so much.